Hi everybody, I'm Tautinei Sopi, and the selected myth that have chosen is entitled "Another Nailed in the Coffin for Learning Styles." Students did not benefit from studying according to their supposed learning style, by Christian Jarrett. Okay, the this given I've selected the first option, or to say select one myth and clearly identify what is known to be accurate and inaccurate about the idea. Tie this to your readings about how people learn and how neuroscience or cognitive science concepts have been appropriated for educational use. Okay, so that's why I'm doing this video. But to what I understand and how I feel, so I'm not going to claim anything one way or the other about the learning style. However, I do have some doubt about this particular study. Students are offered study tips based on the learning styles. Yet it is not clear exactly what this means. But the implication seems to be that the students were all primarily taught and learning the same way, but we're giving some tailored tools to be used during the self-study while they're out from school. This is very different. This is very different from students being taught primarily in their identified learning style, but I'm not sure how much of an effect it can be to expect from the tools students were given, and we weren't provided any information on how much the tools were used. Only that this could be used very little, and yet we were it could be considered a lack of measurable effect to being significant on the base of success of learning by this method. So I do agree. I do that this is more. It's not encompassing with the study to be given, because, as for a fact, all our students have different and various learning abilities. So therefore, to examine the impact of just giving, for example, giving them only the visual learning style, it could sum up to a very poor outcome on their learning, whereas it does not help them to our lessons. However, for improvement and just with reading through the article that was given, for example, the article on improving students' learning with effective learning techniques. I it basically it's given four categories of variables of general techniques that it can help help onto the motivation and the traits of intelligence, and how learning connection can be for students to achieve. For example, I picked up on that because I thought it was um, it was good. I thought it was relevant. For example, the four categories that I've read through and I picked up from the article was the materials, the learning condition, the student characteristics, and the criterion task. For examples, it's basically with the materials we can be able to give students the vocabulary, the lecture content, the narrative text, the mathematical concept maps, diagrams. Right, those are the materials given to teachers, even to the students. The learning conditions. So, for example, these learning conditions, it could vary throughout the lessons using their learning styles. For example, the amount of practice that they get the open and close book practices, the reading versus listening, intentional and incidental learning, direct instructions, discovery learning, rereading lags, kind of practices, and group and individual learning. That falls all under learning conditions. And then comes the third one, which is the student characteristics. This is most likely how we teachers should be able to learn and be able to take the different learning styles and be able to target and we can help them throughout any lesson that's given to them. And primarily, we know their age, their primary domain knowledge, their working memory capacity, the verbal ability, the interest, fluent intent, motivation, prior achievements, and self efficacy. So that falls under student characteristics. And the last one is a criterion task. This includes cue recalled, free recalled recognition, problem solving, argument development, essay writing, criterion of portfolio, achievement test, and classroom quizzes. So if we these some of these characteristics are more based on relevance, and that can help. That I believe it could be a learning condition onto any subject and any content, and it could be implemented to improve our students with directions that could lead them to cognitive and educational success, and from that, it is recommended, and I would recommend these to be evaluated, and that can be generalized to to um to be able to provide and to help teachers, not only the students, but to help teachers target the various learning styles, because every student has its own learning ability, and if we can utilize these techniques to boost up their cognitive thinking and to their self, and to be able to have them interact into all this the learning that's inside our classrooms. I believe it would be appropriate, and it could be reviewed, and it could actually help boost up the learning level of our students. And that being said, I hope, and with another idea that I picked up from our reading, that it could also help with the learning styles. We could actually integrate what we have studied through. For example, the PLM, or the perceptual learning module, as to it is active, and and um and it could help the kids, it could help the students, and again, from for example, as to if we were to implement this, as to get to kids to be involved, because as of now, our students are so equipped with technology, and if we do integrate because most of our students learn through that way and learn fast, I believe it could also help them with their learning every day, as to the development of our PLM, or the perceptual learning module, into that could give with a computer, as in chapter 9, and we can actually use it as a computer program for as a learning style, to integrate into our students' learning. So and that's about it. And I believe it could. So I hope I did make my point across. And so thank you for listening.